From dispatching rovers to the moon in the 1960s to advanced missions there today, landing on the moon has always been significant. Even in 2023, several lunar missions, such as Russia's Luna 25 and Japan's iSpace, have failed. Even our most advanced technology has difficulty with this, demonstrating that despite our progress, the moon continues to test our space capabilities. But why might this be the case? What secret does the moon contain that prevents us from accessing it? Let's find the answers from this video. Hello everyone, welcome back to Zeey. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss any update. If you recall, the Soviet Union's Luna 9 mission was the first to soft land on the moon's surface in 1966, a significant advancement over previous attempts. In 1959, the Soviet Union was the first nation to dispatch a man-made object to the moon. All of these disasters remind us that landing on the moon is a difficult task, comparable to taking a substantial risk. The moon's peculiar gravity is a lesser-known but crucial component of this case. In contrast to Earth, which has a fairly uniform gravitational force everywhere, the moon's gravity is uneven and bumpy. Some regions of the moon have a greater gravitational pull than others. This bumpiness is primarily found near certain large craters and is caused by the additional mass left behind by ancient asteroid impacts. Variations in the gravitational field of a planet or other celestial body are referred to as uneven gravity. These variations may result from distinctions in the body's density and mass distribution. In order to give you an idea of how it feels, it is more comparable to roller coasters where rapid speed changes simulate varying gravitational forces and high-altitude locations with slightly weaker gravity than sea level. Under the moon's south pole, scientists discovered something very odd 4 years ago. It is estimated to weigh approximately 2 quadrillion tons. Although the notion of an alien spaceship is intriguing, it is more likely related to a massive impact that occurred approximately 4 billion years ago. This ancient occurrence left behind a great deal of extra material, which explains why the moon's gravitation is not uniform everywhere. This unpredictability of gravity is not merely intriguing to scientists, it poses a significant obstacle to landing on the moon. When spacecraft land, they must contend with irregular gravity, which can affect their trajectory, speed, and landing technique. The Surveyor program, which began in 1966 and intended to send robotic spacecraft to the moon before the Apollo missions with astronauts, had a low success rate. 2 out of 7 Surveyor missions were unsuccessful. One of them veered off course and collided, while the other lost contact with Earth just prior to touchdown, and we will never know what happened to them. When the Apollo missions with astronauts arrived, however, the narrative changed. They demonstrated how humans can solve problems in real time, something machines cannot do. The Apollo 11 mission is an outstanding illustration. When Neil Armstrong and his crew were descending to the moon, a navigation error caused them to veer off course. The onboard computer could only follow its pre-programmed instructions, so it was unable to resolve the issue. Armstrong's proficiency as a pilot rescued the day. With only a few seconds of fuel remaining, he assumed control of the lunar module and led it to a safe landing. Speaking of this is why human intervention is necessary, despite the existence of numerous AIs. In any case, unlike missions with human astronauts who can assume control in an emergency, robotic missions must strictly adhere to their predetermined paths and procedures. These missions rely on everything proceeding precisely as planned, so even the smallest error can result in failure. Even though the moon is relatively near to Earth in space, it is still far enough away that we cannot control things in real time from Earth due to the 2.5-second time it takes for signals to travel back and forth. This delay may not seem significant, but it can be sufficient to derail a moon landing. Now, it is fascinating to contrast NASA's successful Mars excursions with the historically difficult moon landing mission. The difference lies in the presence or absence of an atmosphere. Mars has a scant atmosphere that can aid in landing, whereas the moon has no discernible atmosphere. The atmosphere of Mars enables spacecraft to use parachutes to control their speed during descent, which is of great assistance. While parachutes cannot accomplish a soft landing on their own, they do buy valuable time to control descent speed, making the final landing phase more manageable. After the parachute phase, techniques such as airbags, retrorocket, and skycrane combinations are used to cushion or control the descent. This combination of aerodynamic and propulsion strategies is meticulously designed to guarantee a safe Mars landing. In contrast, because the Moon lacks an atmosphere, spacecraft must rely solely on propulsion to land, which is a significantly more complex and fuel-intensive process. Without the aid of aerodynamics, stopping from orbital velocity on the Moon requires a carefully orchestrated series of rocket fires. This highlights the considerable engineering difficulty of lunar landings, even for advanced technologies such as SpaceX's Falcon 9, which relies on the Earth's atmosphere for controlled descents and may find the Moon's conditions quite intimidating. Modern lunar missions are aiming for more difficult landing sites compared to earlier missions, making things more difficult. In the past, missions like Luna 2 intended to land on the Moon's surface without much precision, and Apollo missions primarily targeted regions near the Moon's equator on the visible side. In the past, lunar missions followed a straightforward route from the Earth's equator to the Moon's equator and back, keeping things uncomplicated and efficient. Recently, however, there has been a great deal of interest in the south pole of the Moon. This region possesses a wealth of scientific potential and the potential for valuable resources. Chang'e 4 successfully descended on the far side of the Moon for the first time in 2019 for the Chinese space program, marking a major advancement in lunar exploration. Indeed, this was a courageous decision. Now, recent missions such as iSpace and Luna 25 are also aiming for the south pole of the Moon, a crucial region for future human lunar exploration. The south pole of the Moon is crucial to science because it presumably contains a great deal of water ice. Water is required not only for astronauts to consume, but also for the production of oxygen to breathe and hydrogen for fuel, both of which are essential for extended lunar missions. However, traveling to the south pole of the Moon is much more difficult. In order to enter a polar orbit around the Moon, spacecraft must pursue a more complicated three-dimensional path. In 2019, India's Chandrayaan-2 mission demonstrated that this is feasible. ISRO, India's space agency, successfully landed a spacecraft at the Moon's south pole, demonstrating that with determination, even the most difficult objectives can be accomplished. After the lunar night, the Vikram lander and the Pragyan rover experienced communication problems. However, these obstacles provided valuable insights for future missions. Chandrayaan-3, India's most recent lunar mission this year, landed on the difficult lunar south pole on August 24 and made history. This accomplishment places India alongside the United States, the Soviet Union, and China, all of which have successfully landed on the Moon. What distinguishes India's accomplishment is its proximity to the south pole of the Moon, a harsh environment with exceptionally low temperatures. The Vikram lander, a large spacecraft bearing 1,752 kilograms, transported the Pragyan rover to the Moon for scientific exploration. Attempting to leave traces of the Indian national emblem and ISRO logo on the Moon's cratered surface posed an intriguing challenge during their mission. This demonstrated how distinct and challenging the lunar terrain can be. During its explorations, the Pragyan rover made some groundbreaking discoveries. It discovered sulfur and other trace elements on the Moon's surface, shedding light on the Moon's composition and geological history. In addition, on August 31, the Vikram lander's instrument for investigating lunar seismic activity detected some unusual movements close to the landing site, enhancing our understanding of the Moon's geological processes. However, the mission encountered a major obstacle when the 14-day lunar night arrives and temperatures plummet. In order to withstand the cold, the rover and lander entered a deep slumber mode, and their solar panels were adjusted to capture the anticipated sunrise. However, the happiness of triumph was short-lived, as on September 22, when they attempted to wake them up, it failed. ISRO believes that the apparatus may have been overwhelmed by the extreme cold, which caused the issue. ISRO is currently attempting to determine the precise cause of the rover's unresponsiveness. Due to this setback, some believe that Vikram and Pragyan may remain permanently on the Moon's surface. ISRO and NASA can learn from the situation with the Vikram lander and Pragyan rover, particularly in light of the Artemis 3 mission scheduled for 2025, which will mark humanity's return to the Moon after more than 50 years. Future lunar missions will be more successful and safer for astronauts as a result of the difficulties encountered and the analysis of this event. In space exploration, initial disasters frequently precede eventual triumphs, as evidenced by the 1960s moon missions, Ranger and Surveyor, that preceded the Apollo successes. This lesson pertains to current lunar endeavors and emphasizes the need to learn from mistakes despite technological advancements. Moon exploration, if adequately funded, is a never-ending pursuit for knowledge and advancement, echoing the spirit of space exploration throughout the ages. So what are your thoughts on this? Why haven't scientists discovered any solutions? How is it only feasible for Chandrayaan 3 and Apollo 11 missions? Share your thoughts in the section below, and don't fail to subscribe for more space-related news. Thank you for viewing.